Okay, at this time it's 3 o'clock, and I'm going to call to order the Pollyant Trolley Management Council meeting for Wednesday, September 21, 2022. And if we could rise and pay respects to the flag, and Donnie, if you'll lead us into invocation after the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear God, thank you for this opportunity to meet freely and do the business of the trail for our communities on behalf of the glory of the trail and you. Thank you for the people that are here to join us today to help us. Please have us conduct the business wisely, heartfelt, and peacefully. Watch over our communities and our schools as they go back at this time. And this we pray in your son's name. Amen.
Thank you, Donnie. Okay, at this time, Secretary McDonald, could you please call the roll?
Okay, roll call of the Pollyant Trail Council members present. Ed Brakefield. Here. Bruce Pearson. Here. Donnie Steele.
Here.
Aaron Watley.
Here.
Curtis Wright.
Here.
Jonathan Nold.
Here.
Mike McDonald here. Allison Kemp. Okay. There is a quorum. We also have Trail Manager Linda Moran and Citizen Representative Kevin Green present.
Okay, very good. Okay, first item on our agenda is the approval of the agenda. Any amendments to the agenda? Okay, hearing none, a motion is in order to approve the agenda as presented.
I'll make that motion. We approve the agenda as written.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Brakefield, second by Councilor Knoll to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Next item is the consent agenda. Any questions, comments on the consent agenda? I do have one comment in the bills. It was brought up to me, why was there a charge of the attorney's bill of $37.50? The purpose of that was the attorney was concerned about the event that we had and the monies that were donated, that they should be donated back to the donor if all the funds were not being used. That attorney has since contacted our auditor, and she has relaxed her requirement of that. But I think going forward, we will make that crystal clear if we have events that money is donated, that the donor is understanding that the monies will be retained by the Pollyant Trail or designated otherwise. So I don't know if there's any other comments on the bills, financial statements, Trail Manager's report. Go ahead, Treasurer Steele.
I'll make a motion, but I do have a question too. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted with the payment of the bills of $5,819.99.
Second.
Okay, motion by Treasurer Steele, second by Councilor Knoll to approve the consent agenda. Treasurer Steele.
And my quick question would be, how did she know that we even had an event?
What happens is,
It's the packet.
yeah, the packet goes out to several people, and she is on that list. So if that's something council prefers not to send the agenda to the attorney, they'll need to let me know that. But I think she contacted me because she had that concern from a legal standpoint.
So we don't pay her to look at it every time, or she just gets it and
no.
she looks at it and something catches her eye, she says something.
Yeah, that's right. That's what happened to it. So plus I'll use my discretion whether or not that I need her advice for council. Plus if it's under $300, I do have that discretion unless council wants to change that as well.
Okay. I was just curious how she. I guess I never.
Yeah,
I never looked at the email, so who all got it. So I guess that would.
She may be one of the rare ones that actually reads her email.
And also in the Trail Manager report, you'll see the update on the grants and some of the other items that are outstanding. So without any further questions or comments, we'll take a roll call for the approval.
Okay, roll call for approval of the consent agenda. Ed Brakefield.
Yes.
Bruce Pearson.
Yes.
Donnie Steele.
Yes.
Aaron Watley.
Yes.
Curtis Wright.
Yes.
Jonathan Nold.
Yes.
Mike McDonald. Yes. That's it. Motion.
Okay, the motion carries. On to public comment. Anybody in the public would like to speak on that?
This is where, Leanne, if you want to say about Carl And about the painting, because it's not on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just here to represent.
If you go to the mic so that it can be picked
And
up
you guys
on.
say your name and your address. It's really okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for guiding me through this, everybody. My name is Leanne Knaus. My address is 150 State Street, just here in Oxford. I'm here to represent a few issues, but two of them are several community members are interested in researching and getting approval for a memorial for a recent deceased member of our community, Carl Rubelman. He was the known biker around town that has just interacted with all of our businesses very loyally and a lot of our community members. So I don't know what the next steps to that are, but we are looking into things like a bike rack, like a plaque that just memorializes his dedication to the community and just being a resident that was well loved and well known. So in addition to that is just on behalf of the DDA, we had approval to have former resident Nick Hutman do the next mural on the side of the Creative Embroidery Building. So that artwork has been approved. And I think that work starts next week. So it does have a lovely feature of the Pollyann that runs through town. So we just wanted to share that that was moving forward. I think that's it on those two issues. I think the two matters, I should
Yeah,
say.
and the other two will be coming up.
What's that?
The other two
And the
will
other
be
two will come
coming.
later.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Leanne. Any further public comment? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to citizen rep report. Kevin, anything to report to us?
Just one quick comment. I was out on the trail a few days ago, and I was all the way at the Lapeer county line, and ran into a gentleman, his name's Jeff, and Linda probably knows him, and he was just really very, very positive about the trail, was praising it, and so forth. And I know we get a lot of praise for the trail, but what was unusual, this guy's from Milford. And he came all the way from Milford because he does this quite often because he enjoys the trail so much. So it just shows the excitement that we have on our trail from other people, from other communities, as well as our own communities.
Yeah, it's interesting, somebody would drive that far to patronize our trail, so that's a great thing. Thanks, Kevin. Okay, we're on unfinished business. First item is the protocol for structure placement on the Pollyann Trail. We've been over this several meetings, so in front of you is the protocol that's been in the final draft for the picnic tables, benches, and trash cans. So if there's no further comments on what the requirements are for that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the items as presented. Any comments on this? All right. Treasurer Steele.
Two comments. One, I thought it was $200 versus $100 because I just thought that we
did
doesn't
too.
even cover a bag of cement. And then two, we just had a visitor talk about having Leanne something to donate. If you look at these policies, those are great things. The picnic table, the park bench, and I like the garbage can, but it's not as memorializing as some of the other ones that you could purchase on behalf of the person that you're trying to memorialize. So those are in this packet, and they're on the website too.
They're on the website, but not the updated ones yet.
So I thought it was $200.
Yeah, my understanding was Secretary McDonald and Trail Manager Moran made that decision $100 was good. Am I incorrect?
Well, I contacted the trail manager to make sure, because I had recalled that she had mentioned several times her concern about the way prices are going up for the benches and picnic tables, that it was becoming cost prohibitive, and some people might balk at the $200 charge. And that it is. We didn't try to usurp the council's decision, but she requested that that the $100 be continued for that reason, and that reason alone, I think, right?
Yeah.
And you kind of break even, right?
We break even. We don't make any money, but for the time being, I mean, every couple of months I'm getting a price increase on those benches and tables. So, I mean, if it causes a problem,
Okay, so it's either approved as presented at 100 or approved with the substitution of a different dollar amount or some other motion. So is there a motion on the floor?
I don't know which way to go. Do we go 100 or 200?
That's what will be in the
Or
motion.
maybe split it right down the middle?
Right now,
$150.
right now, $100 is in the policies.
That's what it was. Do you have a problem with 150?
I don't, I just don't want to price, people out. And it's just the prices of the benches and everything are going, but 150, is more palatable than 200. I mean, 200 just sounds like a lot of money, to me. When you say, oh, buy a bench, it's $1,000. Oh, by the way, it's $200 to install it. It's like, yikes.
Well, since it's unsure exactly the dollar figure from the last meeting is questionable, I would like to make the motion for the protocol structure to be placed with Holly and Trell for a cost of $150.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion by Vice Chair Brakefield, second by Councilor Knoll to approve the policies for the benches, trash cans, and picnic tables with the installation and whatever charge it is.
Basically, it's
Assembly.
Assembly, yeah. Assembly and installation at $150. Any further discussion? If not, roll call, please. Secretary McDonald?
Okay, motion to approve the bench and structure policy and installation fee of $150. Bruce Pearson?
Yes.
Donnie Steele?
Yes.
Aaron Watley?
Yes.
Curtis Wright?
Yes.
Jonathan Knoll?
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Ed Brakefield?
Yes?
Okay, motion carried.
Okay, motion carries. Last item under unfinished business is a culvert replacement update. Councilor Watley, you were going to give us some kind of contact with Superior Excavated. I don't know if there's been any movement or not.
It's been a struggle to
Okay.
get a hold of them, but I was able to reach out. We do have a meeting. We don't have a time yet, but this Friday, the conversation did seem pretty optimistic. So
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Thanks. So we'll have something before next meeting then.
yeah, if it falls within the threshold that the council approved, we'll just go ahead and
Right, yeah.
start the work.
Yeah, move that forward. Okay. Anything further on the culvert replacement? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to new business. Koenig Materials fencing request. Peter Fredericks and Jeff Wilson representing Koenig are here. So I guess I'll give them the floor that they can explain what they would like to present to council. So if you'd like to go to the podium, Peter or Jeff?
Go ahead.
Give us an insight on what's going on and we'll listen.
Hello, Peter Fredericks with Koenig Materials in Oxford, Midtown Road here, and with Jeff Wilson as well. He can chip in anytime I miss something. Basically, what we wanted to do is to say, appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. We'd like to address and update you that our interest is to improve the security on our site at Koenig Sand and Gravel for Koenig Materials at 1955 East Lakeville Road. We're looking at installing a 4-foot woven wire fence, steel posts, no razor wire, basically just to improve the security around the perimeter of our property. We would complete it with a licensed fence company. We would start at the first opportunity, and our best estimate is subject to their schedule, complete this within approximately 6 months. We would work with Linda and the trail as far as the setbacks. I believe it's a 3-foot setback on the side of the trail, and then further for the
50 feet. It's 50 feet wide
yeah,
on either side.
50 feet on each side of
Well, 50 feet in total, 25 feet on each side from center.
for the fencing.
That's the trail easement.
Okay.
And then we mow 3 feet, and then we trim back 5 feet.
Yeah, so we would work with you on continuing to do at least the 3 feet, 5 feet, wherever we can.
That would, yeah, that's up to these guys.
So I want to make sure we have
Yeah.
information straight. So we would like to do that. We'd add the appropriate signage as necessary. And what else? We would, we would help with some of the clearing in order to do so. But basically, we just want to make sure our facility is safe and want to present that information to you.
Okay.
I don't know if I missed anything with Jeff here.
What our intentions, and we went over this and we met with Linda, is
we will stay in from the trail on the east end, where the trail turns and goes to the north and then bends around. We were going to run the fence up to that point. It's got to be, what, 50 to 75 feet in on our property?
Yeah.
To stay away from that so that it isn't there. And run that along the inside of the berm, all the way along to where it gets to the edge of the lake, and then bring it up and go along the edge of the trail there, because there is not room or there. So there is some areas that it does run closer to the trail. And then when it goes, we get back to that area, we would take it back again.
So a lot of the fencing will be inside the property. It's well inside, not along the trail, but inside the property.
Yeah.
There's some of that area that's along there that it drops right off. And
It's impossible to put a fence up on King property.
I think I think you've looked at it too. That if there's a significant area that it's not going to obstruct the trail, and we would go back in there. Our thought was in that area we try to be back to the 5 feet, and we would clear it there, so it would help with the regulations of DNR, and maintain it and sign it as, you know. But right now, we were looking at, we're going to go from the west end property stake past the west entrance to be the east entrance and to the north there around where the trail is. Just up over there.
I just wondered if we could get a drawing of the proposed fencing area, and we didn't get that. But
I think Peter has a copy of it.
But if I'm hearing this right, you're going to put the fence totally on Caney property, except for the areas where you have drop-offs that will require you to put fencing on Pollyant Trail property. Well, let me back up. MDNR property to get the fencing totally around the King property's property.
That's correct.
So you're looking at how many actual amount of fencing would you need on Pollyant Trail property? You have what 1.7 miles?
Well, I would guess it's going to be close to 3/4 of a mile or a mile, do you think?
Probably not quite that much, because it's just,
Not that much? Okay.
no. It would be-
There's a substantial amount of it that is on there.
Yeah. So, I'm just speaking for myself from Pollyant Trail, but really the issue is going to have to be with the DNR because it's their property. We're just the intermediate managers of that. So I did reach out to Tim Novak to see if he could give me some response back, and I did not hear from him. He's one of the new contacts at MDNR, but I did not hear back from him. Hopefully I would have. But I would say that until we get a response back from the MDNR, there's not much council's going to be able to act on. Because we would need to get the approval from them to say, yes, we're in agreement with that. And plus also, if we move forward with this, then we have to look at, 15 more miles of trail, somebody else coming up with the same request. So it's something that, yeah, go ahead.
Is this all in Oxford Township?
It is.
Okay,
It is.
on Addison?
Yeah, it's just on the Addison border. Isn't it right, Peter?
We butt up to the Addison border, I believe. I think it's all in Oxford Township. A number of taxes are in Addison.
Yeah.
That drawing that you have just happens to give you an idea of the perimeter going around the outside, and we would do this in stages, but the thought would be to do the Pollyant Trail area first.
Secretary McDonald.
I'm trying to understand exactly where the fencing will be located relative to the traveled portion of the trail. Are you talking about putting a fence within 5 feet of the traveled portion or within 5 feet of the easement of the property?
We would look at, so that map there shows the perimeter of our property. So the thought would be to do it, that would be, how is it? That would be where it is, with the exception in some areas, if we could keep it on the inside, we would do so as well. And so, but that would give you an idea of where our property perimeter is, and the thought is, unless other areas, we can do it on the inside of the property.
Okay.
So I don't know if that answers your question.
Yeah, maybe I didn't, I'm assuming, or I had assumed, that the fence would always lie to the north of the trail. Is that not the case?
Correct.
That's correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And that it would be at or near the easement that was agreed upon between the DNR and Koenig back when that agreement was made. So in other words, how far from the travel portion, I don't have a problem if physically it's impossible to put a fence farther from the traveled portion of the trail and still on the trail property. That's not a problem, but I think a fence 3 to 5 feet from the traveled portion is frankly not acceptable. It's just too hard to maintain the trail with that narrow area to work in. So am I misunderstanding? You
Well, I'm not as familiar with the easement, so you got to bear with us a little bit on that piece. Other than we would want it to be, north of the trail.
Okay.
On our property. I don't fully know when you're referring to the easement, that's something that we have to look at, but it would be north of the trail, as far north as we could if the trail is possible, assuming the property and the ground permit us to put it there. The idea would be to be to the north enough that it's at least 3 feet to the north of it, preferably 5 feet to the north of it.
Okay, what being it?
The edge of the trail. And then in some areas, we're going to be way north of that. On the furthest east side, we're going to be on our property within the berms. We're not going to be even close to the trail in that area.
No. On the areas that you're talking about is where it was, whenever the easement was granted and they picked a point, there's, on the north side of the trail, there actually is, at that edge of that easement, there's water. So we were going to take it on the inside, which we would be on the outside of the easement on our property. But when we get to that point where we can't go any further, that's where we would come up and be on the easement and follow that, wherever it is possible. And the sooner that we could get it back, and but there was excavation done, my God, how many years ago, Peter, would have been, way before that, and it was
25 years ago.
up there. I mean, there literally is some spots where the trail is.
No, that's helpful, and the reason I'm asking the pointed questions is because we'll have to talk when the DNR is going to contact us and do the same thing. Where is this fence going to be? So we need to have an understanding. So based on what you've told us, you're going to keep it as far from the trail as possible where you can, but you may have to come onto the easement or close to the trail in those areas where physically it isn't possible to construct a fence anywhere else.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it possible you could provide a survey to give an aerial overview on the easement line and proposed fence line and the areas in question?
I guess that's possible. I guess.
And it would give a visual for you, give a visual for us and the DNR that would give us direction back.
What is our easement? I can see your wheels turning. What is our easement?
I really don't.
Officially.
Well, that's, you threw me for a loop because we were talking about being north of the trail.
Well, you
We have
have,
we have an
We're
expert
going to use
here
our
from the county.
resources. Thank you. Yeah.
Go for it.
Sorry to put you on the spot there.
And there's a difference between an actual easement and like an agreement, right?
Yeah.
That's correct, yep. So if you look at your master plan, there's a copy of the easement that the DNR holds with Kate. And that was signed, it's a 50-foot easement.
But where, the interesting part would be, where does the easement start?
Yep, there's a map and a
Is
survey.
it like from the point where the county has easement from roads, and it goes from probably that easement in? Is that what it would be?
There's actually a survey map of the easement within the document itself. So I can certainly provide that to you, or...
That would,
Yeah, if we could.
that would be very helpful, and then that way we could go through there and pinpoint where it would be.
Yep. But I think ultimately, you're correct, the DNR will need to make a determination on this, and they will likely need to know where those installation points are going to be to make a decision. So we can certainly provide you with the easement.
You go for it.
So you really don't need our permission on most of your trail. It's just, I see the narrow points there by the water is what you're asking, because you can put a fence up, and, you know, as long as Oxford Township agrees. But you can put a fence up. I see just like 2 narrow spots here by the water that you need to address. And you're putting the fence up, are you having issues with trespassers, or?
We've had issues for years for trespassing, and we've got people have come in and used it as a park in the past. People have come in and stolen things. We've had vandalism for years out there. We've constantly trying to improve it with berms and with whatever we could security-wise. But it's a big site, and so I bet you in the last 10 years we've had $50,000 worth of equipment stolen, vandalized, things like that. So I think in the discussions we've had, I think Curtis may have been in some of these with the township. We've been trying every year to do things to try to improve it, but there's a it's not quite as bad now, but there's a trailer park right across the street that for years some of the parents were telling the kids to go play in the park across the street, and we had situations where we've been trying every year to try to clean it up and to improve it and to make it look presentable, and that included we spent a tremendous amount of time demolishing the old plant because we were afraid people were going to get hurt. And so what we want to do is have it safe. We want to, it is private property. We want to try to do what's right, to keep it safe, and to protect our property and the equipment.
And Kenny Freeman used to work there, right?
Yes, sir.
He was a good friend of the trail. He did a lot of volunteer work for Addison Township as well as the parking lot on Lake George there. He donated his equipment, and we do miss him.
Yeah, he was great. He was a great guy. We miss him too.
Thank you.
So it sounds like what we need, Peter and Jeff, is we need some sort of proposed location, something we can see, because I'm thinking if you proceed to put the fencing up where you want to make sure it's on Keeney property.
Well, if we could get this document, then we could plat something along the path. And that would give us all something to work on.
So
it would help, we can pinpoint the areas where it's going to be, and I don't know if the person from DNR could maybe look up and we can come out and actually physically see where we're at.
Do a site visit. Do a site visit out there. That's fine. And then if any other action needs to be taken by council, I'll need that back by the 13th of October, so I can get it in the agenda packet. So, Kristen.
I don't know if 4 feet is going to be an adequate height. You may want to consider 6 feet. We've done that over on the airborne trail.
Okay, 6 feet. So
in the township ordinances it says 4
feet. Okay.
Let's pull it together. Get your information, we get our information, we get the defense company representative we were talking to.
And I'll contact with the MDNR in the meantime and see if we can arrange that meeting. Linda, you can.
I have a question. As long as it's within or beyond the 25 feet on the north side of the trail property, and we can prove that with survey, are they able to start installing a fence on property that is clearly outside of the easement? Is that?
That's probably back on, short answer I would say is yes. I don't know if there's any requirement we would have from the township's point of view of putting up a fence, but I guess in a sense they're taking a gamble to confirm that they're on their property without knowing where those boundaries are at, even if it is an aerial.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that the travel portion of the path of the trail is actually centered on the easement. It could be at one or the other side, so I think that's really necessary.
Okay, I'm just, Corey.
All right, so Peter and Jeff, you'll get the information from us. Kristen, you'll forward stuff to them. I'll get with the MDNR with Linda, and then see if we can put all this together and come to some sort of an answer. Get that
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, too.
I've got a question.
Okay, go ahead, Ed.
Looking at the drawings that you guys gave us, it's absolutely no way of going around the lake at all. You're going on Pollyant Trail side now, I can see. Is it possible to go around the lake? Because nobody can enter your place unless they can swim across.
Well,
We'd like to get people out of the lake.
yeah, there's an area where they come down and
6-foot fence would go a long way towards that.
that's probably
4 foot.
the largest liability is.
Okay.
Especially those big
I
fences.
If it's on the
I
edge,
understand what you're
you
saying.
hop over, they might go down the
Good
hill.
point. I mean, people will go on the lake fishing and could get hurt, could get drowned. I guess who they're gonna be calling.
Yeah,
And that's a-
they don't want your kayak on there.
Yeah, so I'll put my kayak there.
You know, the sheriff comes out all the time, they're trying to police it, try to keep people out of there. So-
Okay.
But you know, it's hard. So that's part of the reason for us doing this.
I can see that it is a big liability if somebody does drown in that, I mean, because that's a gravel pit, and if somebody does drown in there, you know,
A 4-foot
no matter how
fence
many
won't-
signs you put up, they're still coming after you.
Well, on the insurance side of it, at least we've done something. And we've done this in our other locations where we fenced it. That's.
You'll also see, like you mentioned, it's real tight at the lake, but there's some other areas where we've actually had fences for years, and the neighbors have pulled them down. So so there are a lot of areas that like to, we want to do what's right, we want to do what's proper, but we also need to be.
That's all in Oxford Township, in Addison, that wouldn't happen. So.
You have to get that in there.
Yeah, well, I'm happy. Okay, we're going to move on here. Item 9B is the fall trail cut. Trail manager Moran has solicited several companies to submit bids back for trail cutting, and the only person that was successful to get a bid from was David Vandenberg, who is here today for us. And his proposal, as you can see, is $1,600 a day for at least a 7-day period with a potential for an 8th day to mow the trail complete. So, Linda, I'm going to have you give us an overview somewhat on what you've done, what you'd like to see, and then council can ask questions of Mr. Vandenberg if they choose to proceed.
All right. Well, Dave and I have known each other for many years. We've worked on the trail. Dave has volunteered hundreds of hours on the trail for us in Addison Township and in the village of Leonard. He does great work. I would highly recommend him. He has the equipment that we need. It's a little larger than the equipment we've used in the past. I've talked to Dave about trimming the trees up and back. Right now we're having a lot of low-hanging branches that were not addressed in previous cuts. Those will have to be taken back to the trunk, and we'll have to dispose of those. So basically it's going back as 5 feet in areas where we can. There are some areas that will not be possible to hit 5 feet. There'll be some areas that'll be more than 5 feet. So the plan is to cut back as many places as we can, 5 feet or more, and then identify places that we can't get that. So that's pretty much where we're at.
Okay.
And just do it after the oak wilt happens in the fall and the trail is stable, where we don't get a lot of rain and it's mashy, because we don't want to mash it. So.
Okay, for me, I would like to see more of a formalized agreement, and we've got another one on the agenda going forward, coming up, and in a sense, this puts you, Linda, in the middle.
Right.
Of council and Mr. Vandenberg, because, with this being approved, in the proposals to the specs and satisfaction of the trail manager, maybe Mr. Vandenberg's specs aren't what yours are, and then all of a sudden you end up with an issue just like this trail council had a few years back with another
Correct.
Company. So I don't necessarily have a disagreement with moving forward with it, but just for the protection of all parties involved, it's not well-structured in my opinion.
What if I were to meet with Dave and possibly the chairperson, and we could hammer out a betterly drawn-out specific agreement?
Yeah,
Would that be satisfactory?
That's my thinking, valid insurance, those types of things, what's the minimum that we would require, what's the requirements from the MMRMA, those things like that. So I'll leave those thoughts on the table for council. Vice Chair Brakefield.
I heard you talking about cutting the trees.
Yes.
That's not in the contract right here that I'm
Right.
reading. It needs to be in there. I think that's, the chairman was saying, everything's in there, and not because you left that part out. Okay, thanks.
Councilor Watley.
A couple questions. What did we pay in the past for trimming?
It was $15.25 a day.
Do we do we have enough money in the budget for this year to do this? I mean, we're already spent. We're at like 70% of our line
Right.
item for grounds maintenance, so.
Yeah. The short answer is yes. We do have the money in the budget. It'd be a budget amendment if you move forward. So when you look at it, you go, Secretary McDonald has the financials up there real quick, and you can see what's our year-to-date that we are we overspent or underspent year-to-date?
We're underspent.
Okay, so you can handle it.
Barely, right?
Well, we're showing,
Grounds maintenance is at like 70%.
yeah, we would need to add $6,936 to our maintenance of grounds to cover this activity and the contract with Bob together. So that's really the question, is where will that money come from?
But it's still within our budget, right?
Well, we have reserve funds
Right.
that we could,
Your fund balance will cover the shortfall if you need to, so
I didn't mean to interrupt.
go ahead.
I was just going to say that economically we can do it. It's a matter of getting the I's and the T's dotted so that all parties are protected and we know exactly what we're going to get and how long and et cetera.
Councilor Nold.
I agree with the other folks. Linda, if I take the same days versus what we paid last year, we're $525 difference. So the cost is right there. But I think you need a detailed scope of work. You need to have all the insurance covered for liability, workman's compensation, and things of that nature, where we don't get ourselves into questions after the work is done of payment and how the payment will be conducted, 50/50 or all completion, who signs off on the work, and the scope of work will direct your criteria for determining if he did what he was asked to do.
I think we can hammer out an agreement and bring it back to the October meeting.
You want the trail cut at the end of October?
Probably the end of October into November. I think the oak wilt is in the first week of November, so it would be after the first week of November.
So there's time then to
Oh, yeah.
work the
But,
details. Move
just-
forward. Secretary McDonald.
I just want to say that, as Linda mentioned, I've worked with Dave we put culverts in up in northern Addison Township, and he's done some ditching and that for the trail in the village as well. And I have every confidence that Dave will do a good job for us. So I don't want you to leave thinking that we have a problem, Dave. It's just we need to, we've learned from experience, so.
Does council want to move, or, I'm sorry, go ahead. Treasurer Steele?
Go ahead, I want to hear what you
I just want to know if council wants to move forward with contracting with Mr. Vandenberg and then come back with the finalized agreement to confirm, or do it all at one time.
I'll make that motion, then I have a question
To make the motion?
that you just
That I just said?
choreographed.
Okay, I'll choreograph the motion from the packet. Is there a second to Treasurer Steele's motion?
I'll make that second.
Okay, we have a motion by Treasurer Steele, second by Secretary McDonald.
Can you help me out with the motion? was?
Yeah.
Need help too.
To approve the quote from David Vandenberg dated September 15, 2022, for the morning of the Pollyant Trail in the amount of $1,600 per day, not to exceed 7 days. The cost of the morning services to be expensed to account 298-853-932.000, maintenance of the trail. Copy of the quote to be attached to the minutes, and Trail Manager Moran, Chairman Wright, and Mr. Vandenberg to provide a proposed agreement to council at the October 19th, 2022 Pollyant Trail Management Council meeting.
Including insurance.
It'll be in there.
Then there.
Yeah. So is that, and,
Should my comment wait till after the vote, or can I ask?
no comment now?
Well, right now, it sounds to me like we're approving a dollar figure of $1,600, but nothing else is factual on this whole thing. The mowing is there, but the tree trimming is not, the insurance is not. So we're just saying, we're setting aside $1,600 to discuss at the next meeting. Okay, I'll go along with that, but
I'm sorry, go ahead.
wouldn't it be easier just to hold off and just do it all at one time at the next meeting?
If council votes to do that, yes.
There's already a motion on the table and a second, I think.
Okay, that's fine. Councilor Watley.
I was gonna say, I want to at least justify why I'm gonna vote no on this, because while we absolutely need the trail service, and I believe that you'll do a quality job, I'm not in favor of using fund balance for this.
Okay.
I think we should budget appropriately for next year and address it in the springtime, or at least accomplish what we can now, and then, but that's my 2 cents.
Can the trail survive without a fall cut?
It can. I would highly recommend that we address something in north of the village of Leonard. That was not done last year, and it is becoming problematic up there. So, and that's about 2 miles, 2.25 miles.
Any other areas that are on the radar of?
No, everything else is pretty stable. I mean, if we addressed it next year in spring, before everything got going, I think that would be absolutely fine.
So what I'm hearing is,
Leonard could probably wait.
you don't want to though, do you?
It's rough up there. It's really rough.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really starting to
When
grow
does the
in.
wilt start?
November.
When does it
Or
start?
before, or anytime, up until.
Councilor Knoll.
I don't disagree with anything that we need to do with the trail. I think we've got the cart before the horse. I think we need to come up with our scope of work, understand what we're going to do for what established amount of money. Aaron, you have a real concern about where the money comes from. I don't know if we can address that this year, but we can definitely put it as a hit list for next year.
Treasurer Steele.
And the reason why I wanted to move forward and while I vote accordingly is that I found that when we wait, like we did in Orion, that cut cost us $30,000 for 3/4 of a mile because it was so bad. That's one. And the other one is with all that wind and every time these trees aren't cut, they create more havoc. Like along Indian Wood, it's a disaster every time it blows because those trees are falling on the fence and in the trail and on the safety path. And the other concern that I wanted to address is that I thought you said that there was enough money in the budget. You're just making an adjustment within the budget, and you're not going over budget, and you're not taking it out of the fund balance. You're just taking it from a different resource. And I do want to mention that we did have the Pollyant Trail birthday, which probably would add revenue that we didn't expect. Plus, we also had something else that we just, the bottle drive, that there's bigger revenues there. And I agree, you don't want to go over fund balance, but I think our revenue should be higher and that we were able to take it from a different portion of the budget.
Councilor Camp.
I wanted to ask, would it increase cost if we did it in the spring, and or would there be an environmental advantage to doing it in the spring versus the fall, or vice versa?
The problem is if we do it too late in the spring, we're going to have a lot of problems with the pollinators and the migrating birds. That's the problem. in the fall, also oak wilt in the spring. By doing it in the fall, the traffic is far less than it's going to be in the spring because people, as soon as the weather gets warm, people are out in droves. We're past the oak wilt, so we don't have to worry about that. We're past the migration of the birds, so we're past that. Our pollinators have taken off for wherever they need to be, so we're past that. So the fall is typically the best time. And then Addison north of Leonard was missed last year. It wasn't addressed at all. So this is the second year no cut, and it's looking it.
Secretary McDonald.
The reason I supported this motion is based on my history with the Trail Council, and we always have good intentions and we say we're going to do something, and for a long time we really didn't accomplish the goal of trying to keep the trail in a manageable state, and we're well into that, and I see this as just and I agree with the logic of doing it in the fall season because of the impact it can have on the local flora and fauna. But to Donnie's point, the only area in our budget, and this is again just based on what we generally do, is we have $5,000 in grant expenses allocated. We've spent $4,750 of that. Most of the other categories are ones that we usually will, by the time our budget is done, we'll have expensed those to the point where we can't rely that there will be enough money to cover an overage. So we would have to, in that event, we would have to take money from our account reserves. The question is how much. We wouldn't have to allocate all of the money tonight, but certainly by the time we have to pay the bills at the end of the budget, so to speak, we'd have to balance things out then, if not before. So I hope that helps.
Okay, let's take a vote on this, see which way we go. So if you can call the roll, Secretary McDonald.
Is everybody clear on what we're voting?
It sounds like we're voting exactly what's written on our sheet, correct?
Well, exactly on the sheet, plus the ability for the chairman, the trail manager, and the consultant to sit down and bring a contract back, or an agreement back in the October meeting.
That's two different issues. Is that part of this?
It's all one motion.
All one motion?
All one motion. So let's call the roll and see where we go.
Okay. Donnie Steele?
Yes.
Aaron Watley?
No.
Curtis Wright?
Yes.
Jonathan Nold?
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Allison Kemp?
Yes.
Ed Brakefield?
Yes.
Bruce Pearson?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried.
Okay, that motion carries. So, Mr. Vandenberg, we'll set up a meeting, get some times you're available, and Linda and I will do that.
I was going to reaffirm what Linda said here. It's better.
Can you approach the mic for us so you can hear it in the,
It's,
just for the...
yeah. No, I'm actually Dave Vandenberg, and I'm the and only trail maintenance man in Pollyant in Lapeer County. I maintain 20.5 miles of Pollyant Trail that joins Lindis and Oakham by myself, okay? I use all my own equipment. I don't get anything from the county. The only thing that county does for me is buys my fuel. Everything else is on my own dime. So I've been doing this for a lot of years, and Linda attests to it that the trail in Lapeer County is increased. Traffic from Oakland County, and so we're getting more traffic from Oakland County into Lapeer County, which is good because more people are using both ends of the trail. The reason why we want to do a fall mowing is, number one, the trail is at its driest. It's solid, okay? If you go to a early spring, the frost is coming out of the trail. Even if you ride your bike, you're making marks on the trail, okay? And the one thing in the fall
the greenery comes off, okay? So you can see more where you're mowing, you can see fencing, you can see stumps, and when you're cutting, there's less to cut. So it's like if you go home and you've got a twig with leaves on it. Okay, when you cut it, it's heavier. Now you got to get rid of leaves. But in the fall, those leaves are gone. So there's less trash when you mow that's going to end up on the trail. Okay, so it's going to keep the trail a lot cleaner. Okay, I do a lot of my work. It's all voluntarily in Lapeer County, and I do it with my backhoe, and I'm out there trimming stuff back when there's 2 or 3 feet of snow because I got 4-wheel drive. And I found it's advantageous because there's less people out there, and then when spring comes, I can see how it's going to mature. I mean, I've had people say, oh, it looks like you mowed too far. Okay. 2 years later, they go, oh, this is so beautiful, it's just right now, okay? I have the foresight to see in my job and just how far, what it's going to look like in a year or 2 from now, okay? The big thing that I think you have to look at, that I look at when I work on my trails, is number one, expense. It costs me money to go out there. It costs me hours, numerous hours of volunteer time out there. But we have to look at what we're doing and how we're doing it and how we're going to save money. So when I go out there in the Pollyant in Lapeer County, I go out with the project saying, okay, when am I going to have to do this side mowing again? Okay? 3 to 5 years if I do it right with my hoe. 3 to 5 years. So, and I brought this up to Linda. I said, this seems like a lot for you to have to pay out every year. Okay? And so if we can get the trail and mow it this time, there might be a chance that next year, okay, mowing the Lynn specs, and she's going to be right with me, that you don't have this expense next year. There's a possibility. It all depends on the growing season. How much moisture we have, the sun, and everything else. And there's a lot of factors in there. I mean, just like mowing your lawn, if it gets dry, it's not going to grow so much. Okay. But the big thing is, and even with the county, if we don't keep it back, it doesn't take long before it's a jungle. Let me tell you, it comes in like crazy. I mean, I've got areas where we couldn't see 30 feet ahead on the Pollyant in Lapeer County, and now you can see 500 feet. So when I do any kind of work on the trail, whether it's in Oakland County or Lapeer County, I always think of safety and those people that are out there utilizing the trail, the runners, the bikers, and some people in some places where it's paved, you got the roller skaters, guys. So I'm thinking safety all the time. As far as, go back to as far as the mowing in, I would suggest a fall mowing, like Linda said, when the trail is still firm, because as it gets cold, there's not that much moisture in the trail in the fall yet, but in the spring, the frost coming out, it just takes it so long before it does come out that you've got all the greenery to deal with. So, but any questions?
No, okay. We've got it under contract.
All right, thank you.
Now you're doomed.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. On to a couple events here. Item 9C, walk with a nurse. Linda forwarded me the event application. This is from Karen Whitefoot. It's called Walk with a Nurse. They want it to start tomorrow, Thursday, reoccurring every Thursday from 8:30 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. My thought is, why do they even need an event application?
Because they want to do the proper
They want to
thing.
be as
They
recognized?
Yeah, they want to be recognized.
Okay.
This is just a walking group. It's a community outreach, get out, walk, get some physical activity. It's not a for-profit, it's just a bunch of people meeting with a nurse, and they chat as they walk. But she just wanted to make sure that everything was above board. We were aware of it. They do have insurance. They were going to table it for the month of September. They are not going to start until October.
Do they have a hold harmless? Because I only got the application.
No, all we have is the application. She's going to forward us the hold harmless and the insurance once she gets the details worked out with her insurance company. So they will be covered by their insurance.
So 922 on this is not correct?
Correct.
Okay.
They're tabling September because they just couldn't get it organized well enough, soon enough, but they will be starting the first Thursday in October, and they will be forwarding us the insurance and the hold harmless.
It says from M24 to the library and back. Do they mean Drainer Road?
Drainer Road, and then they're going to come through the, walk up behind the library and around.
Okay.
So,
All right, pretty straightforward. Any other questions, council, on the event? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the event.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
I move to approve the event request to utilize Pollyant Trail for a walk with the nurse. Event is scheduled for, what day was it?
they're Thursdays. Ongoing.
Thursdays.
Ongoing.
2022, contingent on receipt of all required documents, including insurance coverage, with manager oversee such events.
Okay, motion by
Second.
Treasurer Steele, second by Councilor Knoll. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries on that. Next event is Oxford Downtown Development Authority 5K Run. Leanne, who spoke earlier, is here. Leanne, do you want to give us an overview on your event that you're requesting with the Pollyant Trail?
I would be happy to. Thank you again for hearing me. We all know about the Scarecrow Fest, the annual family-friendly activities that go on downtown. This year we wanted to add a family fun run/walk that'll kick off the day. So it'll start around 10:30 in the morning, and it's more or less going from downtown Centennial Park through the neighborhoods, through the library path, and then we are only on Pollyant for about a quarter mile where they'll hit a turnaround. That's kind of near where the Highland Drive dead ends from the Davis Lake neighborhood. We were just seeking permission to allow access to set up a folding table so we can pour some water for participants and things like that. And then they'll turn around and kind of head back downtown. So that was the reason for putting it on the agenda and applying for the event application, is just seeking that approval to use it for this purpose and then set up the aid station.
Okay, any questions, comments for Leanne? Treasurer Steele.
I move to approve the request for the Oxford Downtown Development Authority to utilize the Pollyant Trail for the Scarecrow Fest 5K 1 mile walk run. Event scheduled for Sunday, October 2nd, contingent 2022, contingent on receipt of all required documents, including insurance coverage. Manager shall oversee event.
Motion by Treasurer Steele, second by Councilor Wiley to approve the Oxford Downtown Development Authority 5K run walk. Any further questions? One comment or question. What is the fee for the run?
$10.
$10, okay.
And it caps at 4 people, so if you have a larger family, then you're free after that.
You capped at $40?
Yes.
Okay. All right, very good. Do you have a lot of people signed up?
Not yet, but from history, these local, smaller events tend to be the week of or the weekend of, so feel free to spread the word. We want to have as many people out there. The proceeds are going to benefit the Oxford High School cheerleading team this year.
Oh, nice.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Next one is a Pollyant Trail maintenance proposal. This is from Mr. Brooks. As you can see in your packet, you have the proposal, which has increased in cost from $46 an hour to $55 an hour for chipping services. Also, there's up to $350 per month expense. There's a request. So there again, my concern, as I mentioned earlier, is you have basically a piece of paper saying this is what I'll do. And if that's something that council's comfortable with, I guess we'll vote to move forward. So I put a proposed motion in there to try to cover what was on the paper, basically just covering over into a motion. So I'll entertain a motion or comments. Treasurer Steele.
Okay, so, well, I just wanted, I was looking at my old notes, and that it was, I believe, $46 an hour?
Yes.
With $100, no, $900 per quarter? Is that what it was?
Yeah, it was a 10-hour approval.
And so that's, what is that? So this is $50 more per quarter plus $11 or $9 more per hour.
So, depending on that hours, cheaper run.
So I'll make a motion.
All right.
I move to approve the proposal from Robert Brooks effective September 1st, 2022 for wood chipping services at $55 per hour, and to approve a not to exceed up to $350 monthly amount, including but not limited to reimbursement for equipment usage and replacement fuel, oil, and repairs. Payments will be made to Mr. Brooks on a monthly basis. All costs for Mr. Brooks services to be expensed to account number 298-853-932-000, maintenance and ground.
A second with questions?
Okay, motion by Treasurer Steele, second by Councilor Knoll. Councilor Knoll.
The $55 per hour, is there a cap on that, Linda? I'm not quite following, put this together.
There is not. So if you want to put a cap on it.
Well, I'm just asking questions. So we got $55 per hour, and we have up to and not exceeding $350 for reimbursement of fuel and wear and tear items. Do we need to put a cap on it?
Only if the motion's amended.
Well,
Asking the question.
yeah. With Mr. Brooks, I would say, no, he's more than generous with his time, but I think that possibly just for good measure, we should, just so everybody knows what kind of money we're talking.
And that's where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
The second question is,
Yeah.
if we do put a cap on it,
Right.
what do you recommend?
I would say no more than 10 hours a month.
I'll make that
Yeah.
adjustment.
No more, because we've never run a chipper more than 10 hours a month.
And I'll second
the amendment.
the amendment.
Okay. All right. All right.
Excuse me to point in front of you.
Vice Chair Brakefield.
Well, this sounds really, really close to a situation we got into a few years back, where $55 per hour turned out to be $55 per man hour. And we were hit with a monster bill because we didn't understand $55 per hour meant per man. We need to get that very clear in the corrected contract. That is not man hours.
Now, Mr. Brooks does work volunteer. He is a volunteer. We do not pay him for his labors. This is all volunteer. It costs him $55 an hour to basically run the chipper, pay the insurance on the chipper, and put the gas and maintenance on the chipper. He is doing it for basically what it costs him to run that.
So it's chipping hours.
Chipping hours, right.
So you're renting the machine 10 hours?
Just
a month, right. And then
Did I
he
design that?
volunteers his time. There is
It's
no...
in there, it says chipping hours.
Yeah.
Could we modify that to instead of per hour, chipping hours?
It says chipping services.
Chipping services.
Chipping services at $55 per hour. Okay, so as long as we know that's chipping services, not man hours.
Right, correct. No, there is no monetary reimbursement for physically working. There's no payment, wages. There's no wages. This is just equipment, gas, diesel, and that's where the killer is. It's diesel. All this stuff is diesel.
Now, are you going to be bringing back a corrected contract with details, or are we going to accept this as an agreement?
I can bring it back with...
No, right now, on the motion on the floor is accepting what you see in front of you.
Amended, though.
Not yet.
Yeah, I amended it.
Yeah, amended, the motion's amended. Councilor Knoll.
I've heard what you've said, Mr. Brakefield, and I honor that. I think we need to be very clear. It's for chipper run hours. Services could include other things. I understand the situation we have with our good vendors and the amount of work they do, but we need to in my opinion, clean up our act on our side so we all understand exactly what that's for to help us to be better managers of the trail. So I would propose an amendment that if you would like to do
Okay, so
that.
the amendment would be the wood chipping machine per hour, not to exceed 10 hours per month at a rate of $55 per hour.
And I'm in my second.
Okay, so we have a main motion and 2 amended motions on the floor right now. So, anything further? Councilor Watley.
Stick on my parade today. So that's up to $2,700 for the rest of the year, on top of the $4,500 for the culvert, and then the $12,000 for the mowing services. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that this stuff doesn't need to be done, we just need to budget appropriately moving forward. Like, we have projects that we're looking to build up to do, and we're eating into those reserves. We keep talking about we want to do bathrooms, we want to do this, but we're never going to get there if we just keep eating our fund balance. We have a budget. Let's work with our budget. But I'm still going to vote yes. That's it.
Okay, here we go. Okay, we got 2 amended motions. The second amended motion was we're going to approve 10 extra hours for the wood chipping.
They're
Correct?
not extra hours,
No,
they're
per month.
we're limiting wood chipping hours to 10 hours per month.
Okay. So let's call the roll on that one.
I don't know which one I'm calling the roll on, but I'll call it.
I don't know how to vote on that one. Does it mean we're, doesn't,
Good.
we don't want that one? You vote no on that one? If you
You got it taken care of.
If you're in favor of these motions, you'll vote yes on every one.
Thank you.
Okay, Aaron Watley,
Yes.
Curtis Wright.
Yes.
Jonathan Knoll,
Yes on every one.
Mike McDonald,
Can't do that.
same, yes. Allison Kemp,
Yes.
Ed Brakefield.
Yes.
Bruce Pearson,
Yes.
Donnie Steele.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Now, the first amended motion was the wood chipping services at $55 an hour for 10 hours. So it was the generic wood chipping on that. So let's call the roll on that, and then we'll vote on the original motion to approve the motion in the packet.
Okay. Curtis Wright,
Yes.
Jonathan Knoll,
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Allison Kemp,
Yes.
Ed Brakefield,
Yes.
Bruce Pearson,
Yes.
Donnie Steele,
Yes.
Aaron Watley.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries. Now, the main motion that put the dollar numbers in there for the wood chipping services and the monthly fees for the reimbursement for fuel and for oil repairs, etc. So let's call the roll on that.
Okay, this is on all of the the final amended language.
The original motion.
Oh,
The original motion. The amended one's added to it. This is, you're voting on what's in the packet.
so this is original.
Yes.
I am trying. Okay. Jonathan Knoll.
Yes.
Mike McDonald, yes. Allison Kemp.
Yes.
Ed Brakefield.
Yes.
Bruce Pearson.
Yes.
Donnie Steele.
Yes.
Aaron Watley.
Yes.
Curtis Wright.
No. Okay, motion carries. On to the item 9F. The last item on our agenda is the Lakeville Road Pedestrian Crossing. I should open this up to Councilor Kemp because it is a village issue, so why don't I do that?
So this is something I know Leanne talked with Joe about, and as well as Curtis. There is a decent amount of travel across that road from the middle school to the high school because there's a lot of sports teams that cross there that do running, that do their runs on the other side of the road because running on gravel is easier on your knees. So I know that's a good chunk, as well as residents crossing the road there. And to go up on the bank like that, especially after, as school's letting out that time of day, can kind of be like playing Frogger. So I know that was one of the ideas behind this. And I know there is going to be some coordination in terms of approval because it's gets into the road commission's territory, is my understanding. It's a vague area because the north side of the road is township. It's my, so I think the first step is to see if the council would be agreeable to moving forward with something along these lines.
As far as I'm concerned, I think that would be a good thing, but on the other hand, just writing these down real quick, you've got parties involved with the road commission, the village, the township, private owner, Pollyant Trail, management council, and MDNR, so to me it's a pretty big hurdle to overcome. It's a positive, I think, for the community. We have pedestrian crossings on Seymour Lake Road, which is a 40 to 50 mile an hour speed limit in that area, but is this something village council is going to approve to foot the bill if it goes through, or are you looking for contributions from Oxford Township?
As a council, we have not discussed it. Joe Medor and I were talking about looking at DNR grants for it, as well as using some of our funds that we have set aside for non-motorized travel.
No, in that area too, is that total, the village maintains just the eastbound Lakeville, and the township road commission maintains the westbound, is that correct?
That's my understanding. I apologize, Joe Medor couldn't be here today because he would know those boundaries a little bit better than I, because that's a very, that area right there is an odd,
he's been heading up the issue. I know that we attempted to get a crossing down where the middle school comes out, and the county shot us down on that.
What was, I apologize.
Yeah, down by the bus garage.
What was,
on Lakeville Road.
I apologize, John. What was the county's, do you recall?
I don't recall right off the top of my head, but they were not real keen on approving the crossing there. Speed's probably one of the big issues for them, but they approved one on Seymour Lake Road, like I say. Councilor Knoll.
On the handout, we have on the upper right-hand corner, it says pedestrian crossing ahead sign. From where that sign is, how far down going east is that pedestrian crossing?
There isn't one. It was proposed to the road commission.
This is proposed? I'm sorry. Okay.
Yeah, well, it was proposed, I don't know, 10 years ago.
So this doesn't really exist?
No.
So the sign is not there?
No.
Okay.
No, that's a proposed sign for one. You can see one also on the map on the west side. So it's a schematic of, if this were to go in, this is the proposed locations and where that's at. So I guess the village is looking for our feedback on that. So I don't know if anybody has any more comments or anything they'd like to. Yeah, Ron, that's all we
might be able to expand upon what I am saying.
Well, let me, any more comments from council before I let Leanne speak?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a great idea. My mom actually lives across the street, and we cut over there all the time, and but I can see it is a huge monumental project just because you have to deal with all those governments.
Yeah, all the parties.
And once you say, okay, everybody agrees to it, and then you try to create it, there'll definitely be a cost into going from the road to the trail because it's unimproved and it has a bad slope, and I just know that something like that probably will cost $10,000 just to cut it into the earth and make it it's going to go way over our budget.
Yeah, the proposal to the village is $5,900 just for the engineering.
Oh yeah, and I would say yeah, easily.
So the village picked that up.
Oh, I just add one thing.
Yeah, they will, because it's
So I would love the village just to take this on and we can just say, oh yeah, we agree, and you guys do all the work, so.
I would just like to add that, number one, where that is, that's where the school buses all come out, and it's already lined up for miles when the middle school empties out. But we'll definitely have to have the crossing like we do by the Frosty Boy with the lights, because that is during the off-school time, that's 50 miles an hour, and I don't think anybody does 50 there. I think that's more like 60, 65 miles an hour there.
Right there. This is west of there, Bruce.
Yeah, well, that's still 35 there.
It's 35 marked, but yeah,
That's 35, but the marker is just the other side, and they're already wound up. And when they're coming into the village, they don't hit that 35 in the afternoon until...
They ride motorcycles?
Yeah, so I'm just saying that if we do that, I can see that we definitely need to have the lights up there, because when somebody tries to step off of there, I'm afraid somebody's gonna get hit there, because it's just too high volume and too much speed.
So what would you like us to report back to Manager Medor? That's what they're looking for, comments back from us.
I see where that...
Speed an issue?
Why would they not do it down by the traffic light, down where the middle school goes out, because at least you have the traffic light to assist you?
Can I add something? I think one of the main reasons is the two subdivisions. I live in one of them, and I know it's packed full of kids, and it's a way to connect to all those communities and those families that know each other through the school district and whatnot. So it's every time I use the trail quite a bit. Every time I'm down at that intersection, there's always a biker, a runner, a family crossing, and it's a goat trail. It's a very heavily trafficked goat trail right there. So clearly, the community's already there and crossing and risking our lives. And I totally agree with you. I would love in a perfect world the light that's similar to Frosty Boy Crossing, but we recognize that that's probably a greater cost. So we felt like this initial approach of just even the white paint on the ground, the two signs, that it at least creates a much more visible spot for passing traffic, as well as a location for people to cross.
Okay, Councilor Knoll.
I think there'd have to be a study done by the county before we even get our hearts set on a site. They would come out and review it to see if it's even feasible. But as far as I'm concerned, I think we can move this on to the village with all good faith to say, go for it.
How does that work with the village on one side and the road commission on the other? Would they balk at that, or?
To be determined. Secretary McDonald.
I foresee that it will be a big project. However, I think on our part as the Pollyant Trail, our contribution should be and also be limited to granting an easement for this use. I don't see monetarily that we could significantly impact the project. However, I don't, as was mentioned, there's already the use there. Mm-hmm. And I've looked at it since it was brought forward, and there is a goat trail. I mean, it's a pretty big one. I mean, it's well used. So it would be, I think it would fall to the road commission and the DPW and the Oxford Village Council to make the final decision. But I think for our part going forward, we could certainly offer support for an easement if they assume the balance of the project.
Through the MDNR. Right. The council opposed to that, so we support the project pending all approvals of other parties that are required to be on the approving end of this project.
I second that.
Motion.
Nice job.
I'll make that motion then.
Okay. Motion by Secretary McDonald, second by Councilor Knoll to support the Lakeville Road crossing concept. Any further questions or comments? Leanne, did you want to add anything more?
Thank you.
Okay. Kristen?
Hey, a quick question. Who does the signal maintenance for the village?
Signal maintenance for the village.
Burdick Street, specifically?
Just in general. Who maintains your signals? Is that the village?
On the Pollyant Trail?
No, all of them.
In the village.
Oh, the light signals, stoplight signals.
I'm almost positive it's still the road commission, but that would need to be an answer. from Joe, I apologize.
That's something that was in Hugo, because it may, that crossing being as close to the exits for the neighborhoods and the developments right there, the roadways, it may require a traffic study, and it may require a traffic control device, like a hawk or a rectangular rapid flashing signal. So the road commission would certainly see your way in that.
Okay, thank you.
It just got thicker.
All right, thanks, Kristen, for that insight. Those are all going to play into the equation. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. On to public comment. Leanne, Kristen, Dave, any comments you'd like to make? Okay, hearing silence, we'll move on. Council member comments, Vice Chair Brakefield.
No comment?
Councilor Watley.
No comment.
Councilor Pearson.
No comment?
Secretary McDonald.
Ditto.
Councilor Knoll.
No, thank you.
Councilor Kemp.
No, thank you.
Councilor Steele. Oh, Treasurer Steele, excuse me.
I
Demoted you.
I'm the treasurer.
Hey, demoted you.
One comment, I just noticed on the garbage contribution, the garbage can contribution memorial, there was no fee for $150 on that, whatever. So I don't know if you wanted to add.
Yeah, I don't believe there was going to be a fee for the garbage can.
No, I think garbage can installation too.
That's it. So,
Yeah.
a great meeting. Curtis, you do an awesome job. Thank you for everybody being here as well, too.
Yeah.
It's a worthy cause.
So, at least for me, Linda, thank you for the event that was put on. It was well done, a lot of effort put into it. Donnie, Aaron, Mike, those that came out. John, you were there too. So if I missed somebody, I apologize, but definitely let people know what effort was put out to actually make it look really good. So appreciate that. So with that, Kevin, will open the floor to you.
No comment?
And General Manager Moran.
Well, I just want to thank everybody. I know it was a long meeting and it was a lot of stuff, and I appreciate all of you guys, helping me out. And I've been biting off poor Aaron's ears the last couple of weeks trying to get information, so I apologize. But yeah, and I wish I could stop spending money, but I'm a girl, I gotta spend money.
It says we killed a lot of trees.
No, we're not trying, no, we're trying not to kill trees, we're trying to make the trees healthier. If you look out...
They're looking at the paperwork.
Well, yeah, you look at the trees that we've gone out there and actually saved. Our trees are healthier than most places because we are taking care of them. And then I'm planting hundreds of them at a time.
I think Bruce is talking about the trees, is killing the trees on.
Oh, the
500
paperwork.
The paper, yeah. Because Ed keeps asking me to, can you make a copy for me? And there goes another tree.
I'm going to ask the chairman, make a not to exceed 10 pages.
Dream
Yeah.
We can all go digital.
Wow. Well, you see us down here with our computers.
So those that know how to go digital, doesn't include me. Okay, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 4:23 p.m.
Oh, I'll make that motion.
I got a motion by Councilor Pearson, second by Treasurer Steele to adjourn at 4:23. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, Council.